So hi everyone, thank you for watching. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Khadevis Robinson, who is a four-time United States champion, two-time Olympian, and all in middle distance running. He's competed in two Olympics, the 2012 London Olympics, the 2004 Athens. He's competed in multiple NCAA championships for the Christian University of Texas. He's coached at three, not one, not two, but three major athletics universities. He's a published author. He is a motivational speaker and a lot more. And today we're going to be having a chat about his life, his career, some of his achievements, including a personal best in the 800 meters, 1 minute 43 seconds, 0.68, and also his personal best in the 1500 meters, his 15-year professional career, and many more illustrious achievements. I mean, like I said, champ, I've actually got them all listed out here, but there's so many. Also, obviously, you're co-founder of the Youth Track and Running Club, as well known for profit organization. Love that. It's very good to give back. And there's probably more I've missed out there, but that is a lot of accolades, my friend. Have I missed anything there now? I'm just going to throw that over to you. Have I missed anything there?
Yeah, it's a couple of things, but it's no big deal. I mean, the gist of it is, I've just been really pursuing my passion. I mean, at the end of the day, whenever the universe or God puts something in your heart or give you a talent or a gift, it's about really going after it full-fledgedly. So that's what I've been doing, and so I'm still on this journey, and hopefully there's more things to come.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good stuff. Okay. So, I mean, I'm going to start at the beginning, for the purposes of what we're talking about today, because I know that in your backstory, obviously, in simple terms, you came up the hard way. I mean, you came up, it wasn't always easy for you. I know that you sort of made it out of a difficult situation in your early life, avoided some pitfalls that many people go through, but not many people come out the other side of, and things of that nature. So I'm going to go back there and talk a little bit about your experiences from the point of view of how you made it out of there, basically, how you kept going, how you kept that dream alive, because so many people would have just accepted, well, this is my life, this is my lot where I'm at, and you didn't. You made it out of there. So, over to you on this one, champ. How did you keep that fire burning inside to make it out of that situation, basically?
Well, the interesting thing is, I had individuals, particularly coaches and teachers, that believed in me. And so as a coach, what I tell my athletes, I say, borrow my belief in you until your belief kicks in.
Mm.
And so when I was younger, though I did have a lot of individuals that didn't believe in me, that told me negative stuff, I had some that believed in me and said, you know what, I see, I see greatness in you. And so whenever I would get down, whatever things would kind of go, whatever, I would remember what those coaches or what those mentors or what those teachers would say. And that helped me out a lot. And then also, what I always talk about, my book is called When Seconds Count, Major Things Happen in Minor Moments. And I'll just say this, every time when I was at a pivotal point, and at the time I didn't necessarily know it was a pivotal point, I was a kid, right? I was able to, and I was fortunate enough to make at that point the better decision or the best decision. So I always say when seconds count, what are you going to do when the seconds count? Now, here's the reality. The reality is seconds always count. But we tend to think that, I have a quote that says major things happen in minor moments. Meaning we think the major things happen in major moments. We think the big things are when we get married or we graduate or we make an Olympics or we start a business or, we have a kid or whatever. But really the major things happen in minor moments. I mean, major things happen in these small moments like right now, but we have to recognize them. And I think that's what I was fortunate enough to do, is recognize that the major things can happen at any moment and just being prepared for that.
Absolutely. I love the mindset, champ. I love the mindset. I love the quote as well. It's there. Well, both of them, they're brilliant. Okay, so obviously you were sort of going through this process, and you were keeping the negative influences away, focusing on the positives and so forth. Now, was there in terms of the mindset of that process, before you'd even won some of your first titles or whatever. Were you applying some of these things, such as a lot of people talk about visualization? When I work with a lot of athletes, they mention visualization. They mention, keeping things to do with the dream, around them and so forth. I mean, again, on a sort of day-to-day level, for many people watching this who are probably in that situation now, they don't know how to get out from it. I mean, what were you doing on a sort of day-to-day when some of those stresses and things would have been in your face, but you had to stay on the positive side, if that makes sense?
Yeah, and so let me kind of clarify some stuff. When you're in a certain situation, the negative things, a lot of times you're not either A, aware they're negative,
Mm-hmm.
and B, you're not able to keep them away, because if you live in that environment, you can't get out of that. It's just where you live at. You're a kid. You don't have the resources or anything to get out. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, when you say negative people, you have to understand that we're not perceiving them as negative people, because a lot of times they're our friends. Yeah. So I always tell people, it don't matter who you get the bad stuff from, it still does bad things to you. So if your worst enemy give you poison, it'll kill you. But if your best friend give you poison, it'll kill you also. Now, a lot of times, the negative people, per se, don't always want negative things for you. Meaning, they actually want the best for you. Some of my friends that were in prison or whatever situation may be, that were in gangs, they wanted the best for me. Now, but here's the thing. Sometimes we don't know. Meaning, when I was when I was growing up, there were certain things that I would do that I didn't know would have that same effect. If that makes sense. In other words, we didn't have the knowledge to know, or I didn't have the knowledge to know that, okay, even having 1 hour less of sleep would have such a negative effect. Even eating a certain type of food, I just didn't, I didn't know those things. So some of our friends, looking back, we might say, oh, they was pushing us in a negative way, but it wasn't necessarily on purpose. They just didn't know, right? None of us knew. I was fortunate enough to have friends that truly wanted me to do well. Now, maybe the environment we was in or the things we were doing wasn't the best things, but it wasn't because they was wanting me to do bad things. It's more so that they didn't know any better than I knew. And so, again, where I started to have success, I guess you would say, is that I, finding the individuals that did know and plugging into them. Mm-hmm. So that kind of helped. The mindset was always there, because when I was a kid, my mom and my stepfather and my dad, they never told me things that I couldn't do. So I honestly believed, which is pretty magical when I think back on it. I really believed I could do anything. When I mean anything, I don't mean, I didn't think I was, I didn't think I was Batman or nothing like that. But, if I had a goal, if I wanted to be a lawyer or whatever, I just thought I could do it, because that's what I was told, even though we were poor. And that just, so the visualization and all that just came natural. I didn't have a name for it. I didn't go, okay, every day I'm visualizing this. I can tell you that now I can reference it and say that's what I was doing. But at the time when I was doing it, I wasn't so aware that what it was. I just did it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes total sense. I tell you something, champ. I mean, that is the best description. I'm just going to come out and say this, that I've ever heard of, of that process, because it's so simple, but it makes sense. And yeah, I mean, I completely understand that. I've been through the similar type of thing, as have many other people. But it's a really, really good way of looking at it, and I appreciate you sharing that, actually. Now, moving forward in time a little bit from there to when you won, your first title, when you were winning your first races. I mean, maybe it's not just one, but when you started getting those early successes, those very early sort of achievements, I mean, what did it actually feel like when on a more emotional, mental level? I mean, what was going through your mind? Because I know we're coming forward a little bit in time here, but during those, like I say, those early, or maybe even the first one, maybe even the first thing that you won, what actually went through your mind at that point, looking back on it now, all these years later?
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Hmm.
Do you have a goal or something, like for yourself personally, that you want to achieve, that you can achieve, that you want to achieve maybe in the next 5 years or so?
Absolutely, I've got a few. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you can achieve it, but you don't really know how, right?
sure.
Like the route, but so it's like, you got these goals, you want to achieve them, you can, you're certain you can do it, but you're not certain it's gonna actually happen. You think it is. So, but when it happens, it's gonna be like, yeah, but it's also gonna be like, I knew it,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
So it's kind of like that. Even though everybody else might not know it, and they might not even know that you knew it. So it's kind of like that. It's like, you think you can win this championship, you think you can make this team, you think you can do, go to this college or whatever, but you're not really certain because you don't have everything put in place. Like you say, I know I can do it, but everything's not put in place and you're working toward it. So when it happens, you're excited as hell and you're happy as hell. And but deep down inside, it's like it confirmed
yeah,
what you believed in yourself a little bit. And the more that you keep this confirmation, the more that it strengthens your belief. See, that's what champions do. See, champions. Give you an example. Muhammad Ali was calling himself the greatest before he was the greatest.
yeah,
So every time he started winning and doing better, it was confirmation, and it built upon itself. Jay-Z talks about he's the greatest rapper alive. He was saying that 20 years ago, and he wasn't the greatest rapper alive at the time.
yeah,
He kept saying, now what does people say? Great rapper alive. Because as he continued to have these successes, it confirmed what he had already believed in his head. Now, he wasn't able to vocalize it. I wasn't able to vocalize it. Maybe Muhammad Ali wasn't able to communicate it in those terms, but that's what it was. So as I started to be able to accomplish, now remember, it didn't start with the big ones. It wasn't like I was just this kid from the inner city and was poor and all this, and then I win the NCAA championship, and like I knew it. No, it's small little confirmations. Just getting out of the hood, just getting in college was like, man, I'm in college, man. This is amazing. You know what I mean? Just traveling, just flying on a plane to different places, just meeting all sorts of people.
yeah,
Just professors say, I see something in you. Just in the magazine predict that you're going to be top whatever in the nation. All of those little confirmations build up. It's just like you're a kid and then you go visit your grandparents and your grandparents remind you of a goal or something you told them when you were 7 years old. And now you're 15 and your grandparents say, I remember when you, little lamb, I remember when you was 7, you kept saying you was going to be interviewing the best athletes in the world. That confirms it. You're like, I knew back then I was going to be doing this. So it keeps you on that same pursuit of your greatness. And if you get enough of it, right, then that's who you become. See, the chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken.
mm,
So if you build stuff that becomes a positive habit, it becomes so strong that you just feel like that's who you are. What's his name? Floyd Mayweather was winning so much that that's all he saw himself as a winner. The idea of losing was like, what? That's not what I do. That's how most of the most successful people, I don't care if it's acting, I don't care if it's business, I don't care what it is, that's how we think. Early on, for individuals like myself, I didn't know. I just kept working my ass off, kept plugging away. And when someone would tell me something positive about myself or believe in me, it confirmed a little bit in the back of my mind and my heart of what I had. And enough of those confirmations built up to be a strong foundation where it started to be like, I'm supposed to be winning. I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be traveling. I'm supposed to be doing these things. So what I do now is I look at other individuals and I meet people and I say, why aren't you? I talk to people, they say, you travel all over the world. I say, yeah. They say, man, I always want to go to Africa. I say, why don't you go? They say, well, it costs a lot. I say, it costs a lot to everybody who goes. Well, I'll have to save up money. Well, save it. Well, you get my point.
yeah,
Because once you start that process of putting things into action, then it moves the wheel. But see, the way the mind works is like, right now, if you was to say you wanted these new shoes. Let's say there are some new running shoes or Nike running shoes or whatever. And you see them, you say you want them. What's going to happen is you're going to start seeing those new shoes everywhere. You're going to start seeing all sorts of people wearing them. You're going to be like, dang, those are shoes I like. Man, everywhere you go, this dude got the same shoes on I like. You know why? Because as you said you wanted them, your mind starts to seek out ways of getting them. But it does it on a conscious and a subconscious level. Now, before then, you hadn't said it, so your mind wasn't recognizing and seeing them everywhere. They were there. It just wasn't, you wasn't recognizing it because your mind wasn't. But as you pursue a goal, as you put a goal out there, your mind on a subconscious and unconscious level starts to try to find ways. That's why when you say you want a car, you want to do this, let's say you want to travel, you just said you want to travel to Australia, you're going to start seeing all sorts of stuff in Australia. You're going to have Australian friends tell you or call you. You're going to see something on TV, on the internet, there's a deal. You're going to see a deal. Great flight deal to Australia, you know. They're always there. It's just that now you said it, your mind's more aware to look for it. That's what happened. As I was getting in these different environments, I started being around people that was different than myself, that saw things different than me, that confirmed what I saw in myself. A prophet isn't a prophet in his hometown. Why is that? You think Jesus could have went up to his friends and people in his neighborhood and be like, hey, man, I'm Jesus, I'm the Savior. They'd be like, man, I remember you in diapers. I remember you was running around here whining and stuff. And now you're going to tell me you're the Savior? No, he had to go somewhere else so people could see him with new eyes. And then they can start saying, man, there's something different about you. There's something great about you. Who are you? Where are you from? And now he can look back and say, I knew it. Now, where I was from, they wasn't seeing it. I don't know why. They kept seeing me as little old Jesus. But as I go places, everybody keeps saying, man, you're different. Where are you from? You're not from around here, are you? You talk different. You walk different. You act different. And it's confirming what he said. I knew I was the one. And they're seeing it. And as he go back, they say, Jesus changed. Nah, you just seeing it with new eyes now.
That is powerful. I mean, there's so many things that you touched on there, from goal setting to the subconscious to obviously who you associate with. I mean, there's so many things, which I'm really glad that you sort of touched on for people. But I love that analogy. I love that it really illustrates the point with Jesus. That is because the first time I've heard that story, but I love it, man. I remember that. That is something special right there. But yeah, I mean, it puts the point across clear as day, you know, clear as the nose on your face. I love it. Now, there's another aspect to that, though, is obviously adversity, right? Because I mean, one of the things that happens is a lot of people, you know, fear adversity, or they fear failure or whatever. And in all fairness, you know, I mean, obviously you've had both. I mean, you've had adversity, you've had failure. I mean, I don't like the term failure because it sounds final, whereas obviously it's not, and we'll get into that. But before we get there, adversity, I mean, in terms of certain races you had, certain competitions you had, and things that were maybe tougher than others, you know. Now I'm sure there's not necessarily easy races. I mean, maybe there are, but I don't know. But in terms of ones that particularly, you know, didn't go your way or whatever, I'm just to clarify this. The reason I'm focusing on in some of what we've talked about so far on some of what's wrong is to show what can be right and how it can be right, just for your reason. So the reason I'm asking about the, you know, some of the tougher races instead of the ones where you just sailed through is because I'm sure you probably learn more in the obviously in the tough ones, right? Where you had to dig deep, where you had to really maybe face your competition, but obviously face yourself in some ways, which is something you say on your website, which I love. It's something I've experienced where sometimes you know, I'm competing with myself more than with others. But yeah, I mean, I'm rambling on here. But yeah, in terms of your toughest races, how did you sort of come through that? How did you stay positive? How did you keep the mindset going? I don't really have one question about it because obviously, you know, you had the experience of, right? So I'm not going to narrow it too much because you had the experience. But in your own words, what was that process like, if that makes sense?
You know, the two toughest races was the two Olympic Games that I missed. Both times in 2000 and 2008, I was fourth. In the U.S., the way the system works, you got to be top three.
Yeah.
And I was fourth. Both times it was a close fourth. Matter of fact, in 2008, it was a dive. Mm. And both times I had a really good season leading up to that. I was the defending national champion. So it never crossed my mind that I wouldn't make the team. I mean, I was going in thinking I was going to win because I was coming in as the defending USA champion. So at worst, I'll be third. I mean, if I mess up, I get second. Worst, third, but fourth would never cross my mind. So the first time in 2000, which was a couple of years out of college, I didn't make it. I remember this story like it was yesterday. I was living in Santa Monica, California, one of the most amazing, beautiful places to live. I was 2 years out of college, a professional athlete living in Santa Monica, California. How good is it? I mean, you don't get no better than that. Professional athlete on TV, and I didn't make the team. And I remember coming back to my apartment, and I remember sitting in my apartment. I'm 5 minutes away from the beach. It's in the summer in July. In LA, in Santa Monica in July, the weather's great. I'm 5 minutes away from the beach. I didn't make the team. I'm 20, going on almost 24, and I'm twiddling my thumbs, depressed in my apartment, 5 minutes away from the beach in Santa Monica. I didn't have an idea what to do. It never occurred to me that I wasn't going to make the team. And I remember sitting there and I remember thinking to myself, never again. And what I meant by that was, I would never put myself in a situation where I didn't have more of a balance in life. And so what I learned, that taught me, that encouraged me to go to grad school and get my master's degree, but it also encouraged me to have more of a balance in life. You have to be all in, but I learned to segment my life in a little bit more. Because when I said I was sitting there, I remember I was talking to people and they were like, KD, okay, man, you young, you got so many more opportunities to make Olympic teams. You you got so many other things you can do right now. I didn't want to do anything. And so that I learned a lot from that experience. And what do? You keep plugging away. And so that was the first one. And so what I got out of that was have more balance in my life. I went and got my master's degree and stuff like that. The second one was just as tough because, again, I was coming off of winning 3 national championships in a row. So the idea of going from being national champion to not even getting top 3 was like, again, it didn't cross my mind. And when I got for it, I was diving. My wife was there. My son was there. But something peculiar happened. As I walked off the field or the track and I went to the back, my wife was distraught. My coach couldn't believe it. And my son, who was 7 months old at the time, 7, 8 months old at the time, was like, Dada! Because he didn't know. All he knew was that I was with him. He could see me. I left. There's a whole bunch of noise for a while. And I'm back. And he was like, pick me up. Because all that other stuff that had happened, cool, whatever. But all I know is you do to pick me up. You're not picking me up. Pick me up. And I remember I did an interview, and I think it was Sports Illustrated or someone, and they asked me a question. I said, if this is the worst thing that happened to me this year, I'm a blessed man. And so what I learned from that one was one of the best things of my track and field career, because when I went back to the same apartment that I was living in before, and I was twiddling my thumbs in 2000, 8 years later, I went from being 23, 24 to 32. And in track and field terms, when you're 32, you retire. And what I did this time, instead of sitting in my apartment twiddling my thumbs, I went to the Venice Beach and I started walking around. Now, again, it's the middle of the summer and the Venice Beach was packed. Now, I had on regular clothes. I didn't have on USA stuff, and then I had on regular clothes. There's thousands of people. And when you live there, you don't go there a lot because you live so close to it. And I'm walking on Venice Beach and it's packed. And somehow it was an African guy that was selling incense on Venice Beach on the boardwalk. And he stopped. And he said, KD, oh my goodness, man, you're my favorite athlete. Don't retire. People stopped and was looking at him and looking at me. I stopped because I didn't know who he was. And I'm like, and they're like, and I got on regular clothes. And it's packed. It's Venice Beach in the middle of the summer. And he said, man, you're my face. Your interviews, man, they give me motivation. They inspire me, man. You got to continue to run. Don't retire. I haven't ever said anything about retiring, but everybody knew I was older in the whole nine. And he said, your running keeps me motivated. It inspires me. I like the way you go out and you lead the race. I like your assertiveness, your aggressiveness. I like how you relate your running to real life. It tells you to keep fighting, to keep moving on. This is this guy telling me this on Venice Beach Boardwalk, a guy who was selling clothes and incense and stuff. And I'm sitting there and people are stopping. They like, now they're asking, who is this guy? Should we get his autograph? You know, we are in LA. And I remember thinking, wow, I don't know this guy from Adam. This is something else. And as I began to navigate over the next couple of months, next year, I would get that a lot. I would get random people, grandmothers coming to me and say, my grandson, he's your biggest fan. And we were screaming at the TV. When you didn't make it, we was crying. You know, your interviews, the way the way you bounce back. And I started realizing something. It gave me a purpose. It helped me understand why I ran. Because at that point, I was trying to ask myself, why am I running? I made an Olympic team. I won some national championships. I got my bachelor's and master's degree. I'm married. I have a kid. Got a little money saved up. Why am I putting myself through all of this? And those people gave me the answer. They said, now listen, we want you to keep running because you keeping on running is the equivalent of us continuing to sell stuff on the Venice Beach Boardwalk. It's the equivalent of us continuing to stay in school. It's the equivalent of us to continue to plug away at our goals when everybody's saying we should quit and give up. So your running motivates us. It inspires us. It confirms that, yeah, we should try to go all out, even if it doesn't work. So from that point on, I had a lot of energy to say I'm going to go 4 more years just to try. Remember, you only can go for the Olympic team. You only can make the Olympic team every 4 years. So I'm 32 years old. To say I'm going to try for another Olympic team, I got to wait 4 years just for the opportunity to try to make it. But I knew by doing that, I was helping others. I was helping that kid go, well, I stay in school 3 more years to graduate. I was helping that person in the military go, well, I got to do this and that just to do this.
Yeah, yeah. I love the impact, you know, because on others, you know, because it's something, you know, personally I'm so passionate about of when, you know, you start looking, you know, beyond yourself and you start seeing the impact that, you know, you can have on other people. And it's an amazing, and that is such a powerful message, you know, that because people need that in their lives. I mean, you know, those people could have been, you know, a few weeks away from being evicted or whatever, thinking, man, I'm going to give up. Or their marriage could have been, you know, on the rocks or whatever. And or they could be thinking they're going to quit school, like you say, or all that type of stuff. And they keep going. And obviously, you know better than most people that you keep going a little bit longer, and you know the magic can happen. I mean, it often happens. Right. I mean, I've even been there myself, but so have many people. You know, you're about to quit, you keep going a little bit longer, and then you know something amazing. You know, the magic happens, and it's. I love that message. I love it. It's because that was another question I had for you. I mean, you've answered it, but I'm glad we got into that. Now, another thing, I'm going to flip that on its head because that was following on from the toughest races. Obviously, in your career, you're going to have proudest moments. I mean, you're going to have, you know, the moments where, you know, it was like eureka. It was like the most amazing thing, you know, that you look back on now. And I don't know. I mean, those may well be your Olympic competitions, right? But I'm not going to assume that. I'm not going to say, oh, because obviously you know, but you know, you're the one who knows. So in terms of your proudest moments, I'm curious as to what your proudest moments are, and also why, because it's not just, oh, well, you know, you won that, but also, you know, what it was about that particular race or that particular element that inspires you so much when you look back on it. So over to you on that one, champ. I mean, what are your proudest moments in your career?
I think the first one was as crazy as it's gonna sound, winning the indoor conference championship when I was in college. And the reason is I had won outdoor a couple of years in a row, but I hadn't won indoor. And I was one that I wasn't considered a good indoor runner, and so that was one that I put a lot of emphasis on personally to do well. And in that race, I had some really good runners that at the time had ran faster than I had run. So it really forced me to dig deep into myself. It really forced me to take a risk. It really forced me to really put everything out on the line. And I knew I didn't have another opportunity to do it because that was my senior year, so I had to get it done. So that was the first one. It was winning that indoor conference championship. Then I won the NCAA championship, and the reason that one became important because that's what pushed me to run professional. So those were things that really motivated me and really got me to really get to where I am now. And then on the professional level, it was really, I had a race where I won the Diamond League. I won the race in Rome. And that was a big one. And it was just because it's really hard to explain. It's just the energy in that race. I think a lot of people, when they see athletes or individuals that's actually successful in whatever field, they naturally think that individual has some type of whatever. I'm just a guy. I mean, I never won state in high school. I didn't get a full scholarship. I didn't get a lot of scholarship offers. I didn't take any official visits outside of my hometown. So what I'm trying to say is, I wasn't a star in high school. I had to take out loans for college. You know, I had to work. I mean, so I was just a guy. Now, the potential was probably there, but it wasn't like, okay, this is who this guy's gonna be. I wasn't voted most athletic in my high school. I wasn't voted most likely to succeed. None of that stuff. There was people who was smarter than I was, or faster, or whatever situation. I didn't get the most girls. None of this stuff. So for me to accomplish some of the things that I've accomplished, it wasn't like this is the guy. You know, you read about people that, oh, when Steve Jobs was this, he was always this, or when LeBron was 12, he could, whatever. I wasn't that guy. I was the guy that I didn't have superhuman abilities and talents. I had superhuman belief in myself. That's it. I really, even to this day, I'm still like that. That's not to brag. It's not to impress you, but it's to impress upon you. I really believe, even now, I really believe I haven't accomplished enough. I really believe it. I feel like sometimes I get so pissed. Almost every day, man, I get up and I'm like, man, God put me here to do more than what I'm doing. Like, I really believe that. And it's not as good as people think. It almost hunts you, because there are times when individuals and others that say, man, you're doing well. You're married, you bought a house, whatever all this stuff is. And you're like, but no, I'm supposed to be doing more. Not from a monetary or show outy thing, but the universe and God put more in me. I know it, I can feel it. So my point is, the reason I bring that up is that that's kind of what I've been navigating on. The winning races and making Olympics and all that, that's good. I mean, that's fine. But I truly believe that there's something more that God and the universe put in me to do. I really believe that. Haven't quite found out exactly 100% what it is, but I'm going to keep searching, tell you that.
That's really interesting. That's really fascinating, champ, because you don't always think of that with I mean, it's a funny one, because I know how it is, because of the amount of people I've worked with, and what I mean by that is people who have accomplished a lot. But obviously, from the outside looking in, you don't always think of it. You don't always think. You think, man, that person's completely content with what they've done. And obviously, I know that's often not the case. But a lot of people don't. So it's actually, I think it's a good thing that you've mentioned that from one perspective. From a few different perspectives. From one perspective, obviously, for other people to hear that, because I mean that's the easy one, for other people to hear that. But also from your own perspective, because obviously, that I would say that it's a good sign of what's ahead of you. There's some big things on the horizon. And when I say big things, I don't just mean more accomplishments in the same direction, but it might be something else. I mean, it might be something else that draws you. I mean, I believe in. I'm a bit. I'm a spiritual person myself, so I mean we can get into that. I believe in that side of things, in the sense that you're pulled towards the right thing. And I mean, I always call it like an inner compass, and it's eccentric. I'm not talking about a moral compass. I'm talking about like an inner compass, in the sense of where it'll pull me towards where I need to be. And sometimes I don't even know why, and I don't know what I'm doing, but it turns out well. If I ignore it and if I don't listen to it, it doesn't turn out so well. But if I listen to it, and obviously you know, there's a place for logic and for you know, for the left brain and all, absolutely. But there's also obviously a place for you know, for faith and for feeling and for that side of things, you know. And I've followed that. You know, led me to some amazing places. I've ignored it, and I've been in some bad situations. And I think it's another good thing for people to hear that, and we're on the same page. To be honest with you, I mean, it's something that I wanted to get into anyway, a little bit. Is, you know, the role that your faith plays in your life. I mean, I would like to talk about that a bit here. From It's another one of those ones where I don't really have one question about it, of like, oh, it's, you know, it's this, and I do that sometimes in these. It's just, you know, it's opening up broader, opening up wider than that. So I mean, obviously that, you know, your faith plays a key part in your life. It's part of your motivation. I love some of the things you said about it, about what's in your heart and in different things. Um, I'd like to get into that, but I don't really have one question about it. I mean, I wrote it down. I thought, well, I'll talk to him about this. But again, in your own words, I mean, you know, what part does it play? What part does that guidance play for you in not only in your career but in your life? Anything you want to say about it, really? I mean, I'm quite easy about that.
Right. This, if you don't get anything else, this is what you should. This is what I want everyone to get. I truly believe this is probably the most important thing for most. Um, in every spiritual book, no matter what your religious beliefs are, there's a part in there which talks about talents and gifts. I think we all are aware now that God or the universe or whatever you believe in gave each individual some sort of talent or gift, an opportunity, a talent, or a gift. It could be something as simple as dancing. It could be drawing. It could be running. It could be whatever, talking to people, whatever. We all have a talent or a gift. Now, the great ones, the prophets or whatever you want to call it, the gurus, talk about what happens is we don't get the same amount. So one person, you might have a friend that has 7 or 8 different talents and gifts. The guy can run, and the guy can sing, and the guy can dance. You can get girls, whatever. You might get another friend that got 10. You got a friend that gets 5. You got a friend that gets 1. Now, in the Bible, it talks about the parable of the talents. It talks about them giving 10 talents, 5 talents, and 1 talent. But everybody gets a talent. Everybody gets a gift. That's life. It's called life. We all get something. Now, some get 10, some get 1, some get 100, some get 2. That's not what's important. It's that we all get some. Now, in the book, it says the guy gave the one person 10 talents. He went out. He recognized he had 10 talents. He developed his 10 talents. He multiplied his 10 talents, and he shared his 10 talents. The boss said, listen, I see that I gave you 10 talents. You recognized, developed them, multiplied them, share them. I'm going to give you more. You're using your talents to do all this stuff. And because of that, I'm going to give you more talents. Because you're doing all this. The guy said, thank you. The guy with 5 talents went out. He recognized it. He developed his talents. He multiplied his talents. He shared his talents. The boss said, I gave you 5 talents, less than him, but I gave you 5 talents. You recognized, developed them, multiplied, and shared them. I'm going to give you more. Because the little talents I gave you, you used them and helped others. The guy that had 1 talent said, now hold on. You gave that dude 10. You gave him 5. Now the guy you gave 10, if you take 5 away from him, he still got more than me. He still can bring you back 5. And you gave him 5. Even if he loses and wastes 3 of them, he still got 2 more than you gave me. Now, I wanted to bring you something, and you gave me 1, so I held on to my 1, and here I am. I'm bringing you back my 1. And the boss said, well, hold on. That's not what talents are for. Talents are not for holding on to. Talents are not for keeping them to yourself. Now, even if you only got one, it don't matter if you got 1, 5, or 10. When you got a talent or a gift, your job is to recognize your talent or your gift, develop your talent or your gift, multiply your talent or your gift, and share it. And if you do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you more, because I can see that you're going to help more with it, so you need more. But if you don't do that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that from you and give to somebody who's going to use it. So why do I bring that up? I bring it up because that's my faith right there. My faith is God in the universe gave me certain talents and gifts. And my job is to recognize it. Okay, I'm good at running. Okay, I'm good at speaking. Okay, I'm good at whatever. Develop it. Start, how do I do it better? This and that. Multiply it. Do it to a level that I can do it at a lot of different places, a lot of different times, and share it with as many people. And the book says, if I do that, I'm going to get more. But the catch is this. If I don't, it's going to be taken away. Now, I don't want it to be taken away. Now, here's where most people have issues and problems. They think they have to be a good person. They think if you're a bad person, it don't say that. It don't say you got to be a good person. It don't say if you're a bad person. You can be a good person and have 10 talents and don't recognize, develop, and multiply and share them, and it's going to be taken away from you. And you can be a bad person and have 2 talents and recognize it, develop it, multiply it, and share it, and you'll get more. That's why you got friends and we got friends and we know people, maybe ourselves. We see people on TV or internet or all around the world. We go, man, I could do that better than them in high school. I was a faster runner than that person. I could sing better than that person. I could write better than that person. And look how they are. That's amazing because they recognize, develop, multiply, and share theirs. You're sitting at home. You can sing, but you only sing in your shower. You're afraid to sing on YouTube and get 1,000 people putting thumbs down on your singing. You're afraid to go out and try to be an entrepreneur. You're afraid to talk to that girl. We all know guys, men, that are uglier than us. And they get all the girls. And we like, what the hell? How they get all the girls? I look better than this guy. He's a bad guy. Every girl he dates, he just treats them like crap. I'm a good guy. I'll treat her like a princess, like a queen. Why is he getting all the good girls? Because he understands that there's something about him that the girls like. He recognizes it, he develops it, he multiplies, and he shares it with as many girls as he can. And he keeps getting more girls, even though he's an ass. Now, you're a good guy, and you got this talent and gift, but you're not recognizing, developing, multiplying, and sharing it. So you ain't getting no girls. You sitting around talking bad about this dude who's getting them all. So that's the thing. Most of us thinking because of this and that, and we looking at it. You hear it all the time. Somebody talking about, oh, I got drafted in front of Tom Brady in the draft. Who gives a shit? You got drafted in front of, did you recognize, develop, multiply, and share your talents? He did. Oh, I used to be able to do this better than Bill Gates. Oh, I used to, yeah. But see, it ain't about it because we all going to get a talent or a gift. Bill Gates' parents had this much money, so he had an advantage. That person's parents and that person lived here, and it ain't about none of that. You can be coming from the slums with nothing, and you recognize that you're able to motivate people. Get your ass up and motivate. Get on the YouTube. Go to the corner. Do it at church. Do it at school. And you know what? You're going to get a lot of these. Oh, man, these guys always talking this, and that. But it ain't about, you know what that's called? You was asking me about the failures and the obstacles and all that type of stuff. That's called life. If you know how to not have that, let me know. I'll bottle it up and sell it and become rich. So that's my philosophy right there. And you know, mind expanded never goes back to its original form, meaning I cannot not know this now. So I got to keep pushing it because I know this. I cannot not know it. So I know that whatever talents and gifts I have, I got to develop it. I got to multiply it. I got to share it. Because if I don't, it's going to be taken from me and given to somebody else. And I'm going to be sitting here going, I'm a better speaker than that person. I should be in Australia speaking somewhere. I should be in Africa helping these kids. I should be doing that. And instead, I'm seeing somebody else do it because I'm just holding on to it to myself. That's my philosophy.
It makes sense. I mean, it makes so much sense. And it's another one that I understand it, but the way you've explained it there is just, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I'll tell you what, man, I mean, it explains to me, because there's another thing here, even with yourself now, about the, these different ventures that you do, with speaking and with obviously writing your book and, all these different things. And obviously the coaching, obviously, and the non-profit and this and that. And I mean, it makes sense on that level, but it makes sense on a much deeper level, because yeah, we've all seen that, man. I mean, everyone watching this would have seen that process. I've seen that process,
But
and yeah, and that, go on, yeah.
yeah, what I want to say is this. This is what I really need people to get out of this. There's people that's watching this, and this is not fluff, man, that are normal people, regular people. They're working a regular job, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and they have a talent and a gift. And if they was to do this, they would be those people. Meaning you'll be interviewing them.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, it's not like I'm no special. It's like we recognize whatever our talent and gift was, and we worked it. There are no ordinary moments, man. The God of the universe don't make no mistakes. So there's someone who needs to see this.
Yeah.
And at the house, or they're at work or whatever, and they know they don't supposed to be working at that job. They know they're not supposed to be there. They know it's more in them than that. But they've settled. They like, well, I gotta pay bills, or I got married, or whatever. And see, what I'm trying to tell people is that it's better for you to go after that big old dream and go and fail than to succeed at what you're doing now if it's not what you were put here to do.
Yeah.
In the movie Hugo, there's a part when the guy talks to this girl, his friend, about there's no extra parts. There's no extra parts to this phone. The cover, none. There's no extra parts to anything in the universe. Grass, oxygen, caps, hair, teeth. Everything's here for a purpose and a reason. Everything. When you build something, when a person built an automobile, they didn't put no extra part on there for no reason. When a person builds a house, they don't put something there for no reason. Nothing we see, feel, smell, touch, our lungs, anything in our body is there for a purpose and a reason. So if everything was created or put here for a purpose and reason, and there's no extra parts, then that means we cannot be an extra part. That means we're put here for a reason.
Yeah.
And so once we find out what that reason and that purpose is, because there's two major moments in a person's life: the moment you were born and the moment you realize why you were born. And when you realize why you were born, you need to be up every day working on that. People say, why are you so excited and why are you so energetic? You're not making money doing this. You're not getting rich. I'm not doing it for money, because this is why I'm here. And I might not be making money. I put the videos, 5 people watch it. But you know what? Every dud knows a stud, and every zero knows a hero. So it might need to be one of those 5 people. So if I don't make money from, so what? If I don't do it because I might be one. I had this happen once, and I got to jump off because I got another Zoom call. But I had this happen. I want to tell this story. When I was in college at TCU, I used to do volunteer work. We had to do volunteer. I was a social work major. We had to do volunteer work. So we volunteered to work at an elementary school right next to TCU. And it was these young kids there, and we would just do stuff with them, So I got my volunteer hours in or whatever. And I graduate, and I run professional, and I go do all this other stuff. And some 10, 15 years later or whatever it was, I can't remember the exact amount. When I was in school, we didn't have Facebook and all this stuff. But by the end, we had it. So I get a friend request and a message in my account, and it says, "Hello, Mr. Robinson." I already knew something was up there because I'm 20-some years old, man. Who called me Mr. Robinson at that point, right? "Hello, Mr. Robinson. My name is such and such. You probably don't remember me, but I'm that little kid that you volunteered to work with some umpteen years ago that was at the school right next to TCU. And I wanted to say that your meeting with me made a huge influence on my life. I remember you used to say this and this and this. And I remember that all through school, all through high school. And I want to let you know that now I'm in college and I've been in the military. And I want to thank you. I got chills. I didn't know. I didn't know what I was saying. That kid took that as motivation and energy as he was in school and high school. And he said, I can do it, and I can, because him. And I was just volunteering time for college, man. And the kid's a successful kid in the whole nine. So what am I saying? I'm saying we all might have that influence on somebody. I just happen to be the lucky one that he reached back out to me because he could find me on Facebook. And I'm a lucky one because when I failed in 2008 to make the team, at that point, my fans felt that I was vulnerable. They felt that they could come and talk to me now and let me know, don't retire, stay with it because your running helps. But see, everyone in this world had the same thing. It just might not be, the people might not be comfortable enough to reach out to them and let them know. That's why I do this with so much passion. Because this, you doing this, it might be somebody else that loves this. They haven't told you they love it yet. They haven't reached out to you, but it does. It helps. And if it keeps them to stay plugged in a little longer, then when you're out, when you're gone, when you're away from here, when you're away from the earth, your legacy lives on. Because everything's energy. Your energy lives on. That's the only. If you're only doing it for you, when you pass, that's it. But when you do it for others, that energy live. Energy is real, man. Yeah. Energy's on. I mean, you know, people can say what they want to say, but I can prove it. You can walk. Listen, you can walk into a room with people, and you can feel if they've been talking about you.
Yeah.
You can feel it. You like, man, they just been saying about me. Or you can travel to another country, and you can be getting on a train or getting on a plane or reading some, and you can feel somebody staring at you.
Yeah.
You're doing something else and you can feel it, and you'll turn and you'll meet them straight in the eye.
Yeah.
That's energy. You're doing something, you feel something like, man, somebody's staring and you.
Yeah.
Don't tell me it ain't real. Energy is real.
I know. I've said that for a long time though, man. I mean, it's like, even when you meet people, like you get the feeling. I'm not talking about like the gut feeling like that, but like the deeper, like, you know what type of person they are. And when you second guess it, you know, you can get in more trouble. And when you just go with it, man, you know, and when, so many situations, man. I mean, I even have it when I walk in places or whatever, or like, and when I'm like outside a building going into somewhere, and I think, or something's wrong here, or the flip side, like, oh man, it's actually, or sometimes I can just be going to the shop or just be doing something, you know, just going to the store, and then I know something good's going to happen, and it does, and you know, and all that type of stuff, and it's staring at you, and like all that stuff, man. Yeah, it's there. It's just, you just got to listen to it, you know. You just got to listen. I think a lot of people, they don't listen because they think, oh no, that's just a feeling, or that's just this or whatever. But like, or that's superstition or whatever. But if you tune into it, and then if you spend a bit of still time, you know, getting more comfortable with it, you know, still and getting into it, it becomes more like prominent, you know, more. Yeah. So you become more aware, and it's like a muscle, like your muscle, yeah. You know. And same as the mind, same as the body, and you can get better and better. And it's something that I apply quite a bit, is that instinct, that quality that you're talking about with the energy, man. 100%. We're on the same page with that. You know?
Abraham was sitting at his dad's office. I don't know if you know this story. I'm paraphrasing, but Abraham, dad, I'm talking about in the Bible.
Yeah.
Sold the little things, the fake little things. He used to work there. He used to work, you know, graven images and stuff. They sold those little things. They weren't supposed to. One day, one day, left and told Abraham to take control of the shop, you know, just to take care of the shop and sell stuff, whatever. Abraham never believed in those false little graven images and stuff. Abraham crashed them and smashed them all up and stuff. Abraham's dad came back from where he was at and came to the shop and said, what the hell happened to all my stuff? Abraham said, man, you know, those little trinkets started arguing about who was the tougher guy. You know, they used to worship those little things. He said, so So the bigger one beat the other big one, the other one beat the bigger one, and they keep fighting until the biggest one end up winning. And the dad looked at him and said, "That's hogwash, man. You know they can't do that." And Abraham looked at his dad and said, "Well, why do we worship him? Why do we pray to him? Why we believe in him then if they can't do that?" So Abraham sitting there, and he hears something that says, "Abraham, Abraham, go somewhere else." Abraham like, "What? Go somewhere else where I'm going to show you to go." Abraham says, "Where?" He said, "I'm just going to show you. Don't worry about it." Now, here's the point to this whole message. Abraham heard that voice, and he said, "God told me to go somewhere else." So he up and goes. Nowadays, people say we don't hear God speaking to us. Yes, we do. We just think we say, "You know what? Somebody told me to up and move from my hometown and move to the States or move to Europe." That's crazy. Back in the day, that's when we reading these scriptures and these Buddha and all them, they talking about that's the same thing. They hearing it. They just believe in it and saying it's God. Mm. We won't say that. We downplay it. You know, I hear people say, back in the day, there was God was performing all these miracles. Why ain't no miracles? Well, for one, God worked miracles through people, and two, in order for miracles to happen, you got to attempt miracle-worthy things. People are not. When is the last time you attempted a miracle-worthy thing? You only can make the game-winning shot if you take the game-winning shot. Some people say, "Well, Jordan made so many games. He took a lot of game-winning shots." If you're not taking the game-winning shots, you can't make the game-winning shots. So my point is, that's what happens. God, the energy will speak to us, but we don't recognize it that way. We think it's just us, or I'm hearing stuff, or whatever, that's crazy, whatever. Well, back in the day, the people we look up to, when Nelson Mandela said God spoke to him, or when whatever, it's the same. But they just listen and say, "Man, I know that sounds crazy. I shouldn't," but you know what? That's God, and they go do it.
Yeah.
So to me, that's where it's at.
Yeah, 100%. Again, I love the message. I love how you put it over in such simple ways for people, but such clear ways. I don't mean simple in like in such clarity. You know, it's like it's a profound thing. It's amazing. It just blows me away. You know, I'll be thinking about this now after we come up. Well, thank you for your time, champ. You know, so far, by the way, I've really enjoyed it. It's been incredibly moving. It's been incredibly humbling. I'm very grateful to have spoke to you. You give me some really good things to think about, and people watching. All right, so it's been a pleasure, my man. You take care of yourself, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay?
You too.
All right, take care. Bye now.
Ciao.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.